What's up, Doc? The Peanuts gang may be ready to give its final bow at Kings Island this year as the license agreement with Peanuts Worldwide comes to an end December 31st with Six Flags. Hello, everyone. Alongside Ryan Sir, I'm Don Helbig, and this is Tower Topics.
Tower Topics is a podcast by Kings Island fans for Kings Island fans, because that's who we are and that's who we care about. Hey, let's kick this off by thanking our Prestige members. Let's give a shout out to Miss Mandy, 1983, Lil Mac, 21, Brian Hauser, 330T, Logan Lipper, Aaron Bort, Jacob Fix, Damon Barnes, Dakota Cole, Eric Grau, Dustin Jackson, Songstress Miku, Lack Ray, Galaxy B-Boy, Medic 302, Eastern Coaster, Guys and Girls, Dustin Y, and our newest member, Mike Garrett. Thank you so much for supporting Tower Topics at the highest level. That's the prestige level. If you want to be involved in Tower Topics, there's a link in the description. Members get early access to the videos, exclusive content, exclusive live streams, and some tiers that you can get some free stuff. So hit that link if you want to be on board.
So Ryan, Charlie Brown, Snoopy, Lucy, Linus, Sally, Schroeder, Woodstock, Franklin, Pigpen. I mean, they all may be leaving the park as we get to the end of December and a new year starts, as that licensing agreement with Peanuts Worldwide, it comes to an end. And we had talked about it when the merger first took place. You got these, multiple IPs. You're not going to keep them all. And
Right.
all signs are starting to point to this being likely that this is the last year for Peanuts. So if you want to get a picture of your favorite Peanuts character, now is the time to visit Kings Island and get those photos, because it's looking very likely that there's going to be a change in the kids area next year.
Yeah. I mean, again, you and I discussed this, that some were going to stay, some were going to go. There's always a possibility they could renew. Let's hedge by saying that. But the likeliness, I don't know. I mean, it might be a feeling, it might just be a timing thing, but the Warner Brothers deal is a little bit better for Looney Tunes.
Much better, and it goes through 2053 with that agreement. So a lot more years to run. It makes more sense. You're only going to you're not going to pay for two of them. You're just not. Right. And when you look at what it would cost to renew, what's really the return on that investment? Peanuts has been there since 2010. Not as ingrained at Kings Island as it is at Knott's Berry Farm. And I think that's where you might have that one lone exception where they would keep the license just for Knott's, where it all began with Peanuts. But, you look around the park, you go through the stores, and, you're seeing a lot of discounted prices on the Peanuts merchandise. It's like all things must go, clearance sale type stuff. And this is what we saw when Nickelodeon was being phased out.
Yeah, that's true. Now, do you have any insight as to whether or not this was just a blanket chain-wide agreement, or did they pay by the park or whatever? Because that might weigh heavily on whether or not just Knott's keeps it, or.
Well, it was an agreement for all the parks. It was a multiple park agreement with what they had, and they were able to add the legacy Paramount parks to that agreement in 2010. The other parks that already had it, Cedar Point, Valley Fair, Worlds of Fun, we mentioned Knott's. Those parks already had the Peanuts. So it was something that they added on. Now, this agreement was about to expire in 2017, again at the end of December. They renewed it in mid-September. They renewed it for another 5 years. So, they could still renew it, maybe in September, October. Six Flags has not indicated, either way what they plan to do. They've given no indication. But when you see those deep discounts in the gift shops, not just at Kings Island, but at the other parks that have Peanuts, that's a pretty, telling sign that the days are numbered for Charlie Brown.
It's definitely a leading indicator. Definitely, it's not a definite thing, but again,
no, it's not.
The timing is impeccable. It really is.
And I think, when you look at Looney Tunes too, there's a lot more value to that, I think, overall. If you're looking at, going into these legacy Cedar Fair parks, it would be a fresh rebrand. It would be an opportunity for them. They're looking for every, penny they can get. So you have a whole new line of merchandise in that you can sell. I don't know how well the Peanut stuff, sells. I know people love the characters. They like the cute names and that with the rides, but I know the early years, the merchandise sales were pretty good for Peanuts. Is it still? We don't know, but they're giving away a lot of stuff basically, with the prices that they're charging. So it's really a more, it'd be more lucrative for them to, as a company, to make that change over to Looney Tunes. I know you and I had a conversation of, how much would it cost to do a rebrand versus just renew the contract, with Peanuts, and it would not be nearly as much to just rebrand, rename all the rides. You can do a lot of that signage in house. It doesn't cost a ton to just get a new sign to put up on, the flume ride, or put it above soapbox racers. It doesn't cost a lot to do that. You'd have to paint a few things to match, I guess, whatever character you're renaming it after with Looney Tunes. But when you're looking at a company that's looking to optimize its cost wherever it can, this just makes all the sense in the world to not renew that contract and just move out to more parks, the Looney Tunes brand, the IP there.
I see where you're coming from. I guess I'm going to get this out of the way, because the thing that always suggested, or that always kind of like wrote its own book with the Peanuts characters, is that they have their Halloween special, they have their Christmas special, and so on. So you could, part of Winterfest was built around Charlie Brown's Christmas for at least a time, and Halloween, great pumpkin coaster, and all that stuff. And Looney Tunes probably has Christmas specials, but it's not on the same par. They're not.
It's not as much. Yeah, it's not. But you also look at what's actually open. During Winterfest, some of the the rides are not open that were Peanuts themed. There was enough of them, but I don't think that would be a deal breaker, them thinking about Winterfest, because a lot of the parks have canceled Winterfest, so they're not even doing it.
Well, I'm not.
It doesn't even matter.
That.
Yeah, it doesn't even matter. And who knows if Winterfest will be back in 2026? There's no indication that it is. They say right now, if you buy a pass, it includes that, but that's what it said at a couple other parks when you bought your pass, that you were going to get Winterfest this year, and you're not. But I think there's a lot of upside, opportunities there for Six Flags if they were to do this. I mentioned, the merchandising. You're going to definitely get a lot of buzz going into your new season, that we have a kind of a rebranded kids area, and the different storytelling in that you can do with the different attractions. So there's a lot of upside potential in making that switch, and at a time when the company needs to generate some positive buzz, create some excitement in that, and get people talking over the winter months and looking forward to the start of a new season, is that, hey, we're going to go see the kids area like we've not seen before.
Could work out for them. Now, just going down the list of, the different Peanuts IPs, let's start holistically. So Planet Snoopy.
Planet Snoopy, I think a simple change would be like Bugs Bunny World.
You don't think that they would go like macro, like call it Looney Tunes Land or something like that covers all of them?
They could. They could call it Looney Tunes Land, Looney Tunes World, any of those kind of things. But it's going to have something with the name World in it, I think.
And then, assuming Camp Snoopy retains its own identity, what would you call it?
What are your thoughts on Looney Tunes Adventure Camp?
That could work. See, that one I might want to tie to an IP, because I bet there's, we've got 60 years of history with these characters. So I bet there's some sort of classic thing with Bugs Bunny or something that went camping, and they could play off of that or whatever. It doesn't matter. But yeah, I like the name. I like the name Looney Tunes Adventure Camp. It would be interesting to see if they went that direction. Now, Snoopy Soapbox Racers, brand new ride.
Brand new ride. We know a couple people would be upset, that it would be rebranded, because they love Snoopy Soapbox Racers. They love that name. I would say Acme Soapbox Derby.
Just imagine the fun you could have with making it so like think like Fire Chaser Express at Dollywood, where that's got to be based off of like the whole Acme stuff, in Looney Tunes, where the explosion goes off and whatever. Like if they truly rethemed that, where like they make it so like Bugs Bunny hit the lever and that's why you're going backward or anything, I think there's a huge potential for that.
Yeah. I think so.
What about Great Pumpkin Coaster?
Great Pumpkin Coaster. Now we know the minds that came up with Flight Deck, they're no longer involved. So there's going to be some more creative thinking here. So how about Bugs Bunny's Bunny Coaster?
Yeah, I like that.
You like that? Okay.
I do like. I'm not going to argue with you on that one.
Okay.
That one's sold. Woodstock Express.
Roadrunner Express. Is there any other name for that one?
No, there wouldn't be. And Roadrunner Express is something that at least they've used in the past. Because I'm pretty sure that the Wild Mouse at Kentucky Kingdom was Roadrunner Express. And I wouldn't doubt if it still exists elsewhere. Sally Seaplanes.
Daffy Duck Airwaves.
There you go. Snoopy Space Buggies.
Kings Island, are you writing these down? Anyway, Snoopy's, what was it? Snoopy's Space Buggies?
Yeah.
One of my favorite Looney Tunes characters. I'll go with Marvin the Martian Space Chase.
I like that. And by the way, Kings Island, the transcript is automatically generated if you want to have a log of these without having to write them all down. Just
okay.
Clear the air.
That helps them. That helps.
Woodstock's Air Rail.
Bugs Bunny Barnstormer. I like the name Barnstormer. I guess it's from Magic Kingdom. I like the Barnstormer there, that they have. So I always wanted to ride, with that name tied into it. So this would give them that chance. So Bugs Bunny Barnstormer.
Yeah, I don't hate that one too. That's a good name. Linus Beetlebugs.
Porky's Buzzy Bees.
I can see that. Change out the vehicles, the fiber on the vehicles to be bees, and then have Porky in there somewhere. That could be cool.
Yeah.
Snoopy's Junction.
Now, this was my dad's favorite Looney Tunes character was this Foghorn Leghorn National Park Railway.
I feel like I learned about Foghorn Leghorn through you on this show, because that sounds familiar. Because a lot of these characters sound familiar, but that one is a little weird. But Snoopy versus Red Baron.
Well, I would go with Bugs Bunny Ranger Pilots.
Do they use the name Bugs Bunny in various, like more than one ride at a time? Okay,
they do. And just like Snoopy's got multiple names, and you've got Charlie Brown's Windup, Charlie Brown's River Race. I mean, there's multiple names there.
Charlie Brown owns several properties throughout the region. Peanuts Off-Road Rally.
Roadrunner Rally. Can't get any easier than that.
I like Roadrunner's my favorite of those characters right now. Now, once they start getting integrated, I might feel differently when I start to know the characters more, assuming this happens. But Roadrunner and Wile E. Coyote, I like the most. The character carousel.
Merry Melodies Carousel.
Wouldn't it be wild if they changed it to Looney Tunes, but still called it the character carousel? I mean, they could.
I could see that save some money. Don't have to change the name.
Charlie Brown's Rushing River Log Ride.
Well, I'm going to shorten this thing down for this one. The Looney Logs.
That's the best one so far.
The Looney Logs. I think that fits. Exactly. It tells you what that ride is. Pretty much.
Yeah, you could do a lot with that. Have the characters you would have like sculpts of the characters. You wouldn't have like full audio animatronics, but there's a lot of potential with that.
Right.
Franklin's Flyers.
Wile E's Wind Riders.
Okay.
You like that one? Okay. You're liking more of these than I thought you would. I thought you would be more dumping on everything that I came up with. Honestly, remember, I'm the guy that came up with Diamondback, so I kind of have a little history with names. Also,
but you didn't come up with
what was it? Restaurants of Christmas Past or something like that for Winterfest, Tropical Plunge. So I have a history with coming up with names.
Did you also come up with Coney Barbecue? Because I heard that was a long debate.
I didn't. I remember saying that wasn't bad. That wasn't my idea for that one, but I wanted to tie in something with Coney Mall. But I didn't want to tie into barbecue necessarily in case they changed the menus and it was just hot dogs, hamburgers, and pizza. So I wanted to make sure that it was a name that was going to be long lasting no matter what was in there.
I thought you wanted to name it Don's Barbecue, or am I thinking of somebody else?
Somebody else.
Okay. Anyway, Linus Launcher.
How about Daffy's Adventure Tours?
Okay, so by the way, I don't have a strong opinion on a lot of these characters, which is why, if it sounds cool, that's why I'm signing off on it.
Okay.
Like, I feel like with the Peanuts characters, I know them a little bit better, in which I could be like, no, Charlie Brown doesn't fit this or whatever. But I know some of these characters, but not a lot. But I do like the direction you're going. Mm-hmm. Let's press on. Joe Cool's Dodgem School.
Well, I got to go Daffy again on this one. So Daffy's Demolition Derby.
Okay. Woodstock Whirlybirds.
Duck Dodgers Air Patrol.
And that would be in reference to which duck?
Daffy Duck.
Daffy's?
Daffy Duck, yeah.
Okay. And then the Peanuts 500.
Toontown Test Track.
I like that. Now, there's one more that comes to mind for something that needs a refresh.
Huh. I like this one. I do like that one. Again, you got Marvin the Martian.
That would be a good character to work with.
Yeah, Marvin the Martian's Space Blasters replacing Boo Blasters.
New for 2026, Marvin the Martian's Space Blasters.
And we tease this without knowing that, you know, what the name or whatever the theme is going to be, you know, when they do something different there in the Boo Blasters building. But I thought that would be kind of cool. I think you'd have to do a little bit different with the castle, though, don't you?
You would have to adjust the castle to maybe look like a spaceship or something. Again, I don't know these characters that well. I do know this one a little bit, but
that's where they'd be spending the money, is on that one more than anything else, because the others are just a simple swap out the sign, maybe paint it a different color.
Yeah, you know,
it's pretty easy to do. What are your thoughts? You know, you're listening to the podcast. This show's for you, Kings Island fans. So let us know in the comments. What do you think? You know, if Looney Tunes was to happen, and it appears likely that it will. What do you think of some of these names? What would your suggestions be? You know, let us know in the comments.
Yeah. So again, lots of exciting things happening. In addition to that, we've got the MVP sale. Don, have you renewed your pass yet?
I have not renewed my pass. I am looking at my options very hard, Ryan. In fact, I'm going to, by the end of the week, as you hear this episode, you probably will see that I have on Theme Parks by Don, I will have a story talking about my different options, you know, what I want to do. But I'm looking at what door should I choose. And again, help me out, you know, our listeners, you know, tell me what you would do in my situation. So I got door number one here, right? So it's renew my 2025 Gold Pass for Kings Island for 2026, $99, a great deal. Hard to say no to that. It includes access to 40 plus Six Flags parks. I have the all park passport right now, so it's kind of the same thing that I have. But I would add the works to it, you know, the drink plan, the dining plan, you know, all those kind of things. But that's door number one that I'm looking at. Door number two is I could upgrade to Prestige. I have a lot of friends that tell me that's what I should do. They keep trying to sell me on that one-time use fast lane. That, hey, if you go to Cedar Point, you can use it to get on Top Thrill too, you know, or if you go to, you know, Carowinds Fury 325, you know. So they keep trying to sell me on this Prestige, you know, with that again 40 parks. You get the one single-use fast lane I'm just talking about there per visit. Free bring a friend tickets. That would be great to have that available. Unlimited tap water in the VIP lounge. You know, that's appealing. It sounds appealing to me. I can tell you that when I visited Cedar Point in 2023, I was able to get into the VIP lounge for Prestige Pass holders. Mm-hmm. And that tap water was, I mean, it was really good, amazing. It was very cold, hit the spot. So that would be something that, you know, a lot of people made fun of the tap water. I think that might be a good thing. You also get all the snacks and stuff. So, you know, I'm listening on that. Door number three. And this is one that, based on the way things are going for the company, not knowing what next year looks like, you don't know what the calendar is going to be. You don't know if they're going to have what kind of entertainment they might have. Are they going to do the nightly fireworks? Are they going to have Winterfest? All that's up in the air. We just don't know. So door number three is I already have the rest of this year covered with my 2025 Gold Pass, and I have the all park passport, so I can still move around the rest of this year. So I could wait until midsummer next year and start fresh with the rest of 2026 and all of 2027, because you know a deal like this is coming next year, maybe even a couple weeks earlier. Mm-hmm. So you know that's going to happen. So I could sit and wait, still be able to go quite a few times to Kings Island and other parks with the balance of 2026, and then I get all of 2027. If I do that, and the price would probably be around $99 to be able to do that again. So those are my options. So I've got tough decisions to make. You know, so, you know, if you listen to this podcast, leave in the comments, you know, which option to you would you take when you consider all the factors?
Yeah, that's true. I'm still on the fence as well. I haven't yet renewed, but I'm gonna go like consider the hypocrisy route and go with Prestige possibly. And here's the thing.
That's a 180 reversal, folks. 180 reversal. Listen to this podcast for since its inception, pretty much. So please explain why are you having a change of heart here, possibly?
So I paid $399 for the Prestige Pass. That included the equivalent of the L Park Passport. That was in late 2022. Now I can pay $199. Well, okay, forget that. It would cost $99 to upgrade to Prestige, essentially, because the Gold Pass is $99, and then the Prestige Pass is $199. So it's about $100. So if you get preferred parking and you get one line skip and you get free bring a friend passes, enhanced pass perk, although they pulled pass perks again, I guess, from what I'm hearing right now. To me, that's worth an extra $100. Is it worth $101? No. But $100, that rings well to me. So, if the price is right, go for it. I don't really care about the VIP lounge that much at that price point. Again, I understand that it's a little bit of an insult to, the top paying guests, but hey, if we're going to pay the price that it's worth, then might as well go for it. So I think I'm leaning towards getting Prestige this time.
Okay. Well, I'm glad to hear that you've had an open mind about it, and it has, from the people that I've spoken to that had a similar experience to you the first year with it, they say that the program has gotten a lot better. They do enjoy the parking up close, not just at Kings Island, but other parks that they go to. If you go to Kings Dominion, you've got an amazing VIP lounge. Cedar Point's is pretty good. Here Carowinds has, a pretty good one. So, I mean, there's a lot of upside to it. What I really like was you mentioned the bring a friend free tickets. And I'm thinking if I did wait until 2027 passes went on sale, I could use your bring a friend tickets to still come a few times.
I have never used like a bring a friend ticket in like 10 years. Like everybody I know has a gold pass. So
you definitely will use those if I hold off until door number 3 and take that option.
Yeah. So, but again, let us know in the comments. Most people that I've spoken to were kind of on board who have had Prestige in the past have been like, look, I'm never going to do that again. But for $100, is it worth it to you? I want to hear about it.
It's not a bad deal for that.
No, it's not. And Don,
and
this is the last.
It's really
time.
it's just like really like buying the last year when I added the All Park Passport. So it's a better deal than that was even.
It's like getting Prestige for free, essentially.
Yeah. So my door number 2, I mean, that's under consideration for me. I've not ruled out it, doing that, or number 1. Everything's on the table right now for me.
Yeah. Don, this is the last time we're going to talk about this because this is happening 2 days from the drop. But we got a meetup coming up.
It is. And we are talking about Strickers Grove. We're very excited about this meetup. You can join Ryan and me for the meetup. The admission is $20. Again, this is on Sunday. Children are free if they're under 2 years of age. Parking is $5. The park hours are 12 to 8 p.m. But the meetup, we're going to begin at 1 p.m. So you can come in, get settled, walk around, see what you want to do in that. But the meetup, 1 p.m. We'll do a group photo by the Tornado roller coaster, and then we'll get the meetup underway. So we really hope to see you there at Strickers Grove.
Yeah, that'll be such a great time. It really will be. So this is like a really cool part of the show because I've been looking forward to doing this for a while, and I learned this via LinkedIn. But let's give a shout out to your former protege, Kyle Kruthofer, who was recently promoted to the digital communications area manager for the East region. So he covers like 6 or 7 parks now. Started as your intern, Don. You kind of showed him the ropes.
He did work with me for 3 years. And somebody was telling me the other day, when they were talking about him and what his, parks that he's covering. And they were like, is it really a promotion if he's taking on more parks because more people have departed and there's just nobody there to do it? And I said, it's different than what he was doing. He's doing more things. So yeah, we'll call it a promotion.
Yeah, it is. And like, you shouldn't take credit away from him because
he's a hard worker, very talented, with videos and those kind of things. So I think he was some of my best work right when I had him at Kings Island, in terms of taking a kid that was, very, like, I don't know, introverted, shy, just, really loved the industry and just trying a way to channel that passion and get him on that path to where he is now.
Yeah. So congratulations, Kyle. Thank you for all the hard work you've done. Thank you for all the knowledge of King's Dominion that you shared with us and everybody else. And thank you for being such a good friend.
Yeah. And speaking of the digital, the content creators and that for Six Flags at Kings Island, Elizabeth Nato, yeah, we know about your social media burner account.
Womp, womp, womp. We'll be right back with some Six Flags headline news. Don, what a day. What a day we've had, because the day of this recording, well, Six Flags announced their quarterly results. This isn't about that, though. The big news is that Richard Zimmerman, president and CEO of Six Flags Entertainment Company, the parent company of Kings Island, will step down his role by the end of 2025. The company announced today. Zimmerman will remain in his position until a successor is named and will continue serving on the company's board of directors during the leadership transition. Zimmerman, who has led the company through the transformative merger of Legacy Cedar Fair and Six Flags Parks in July of 2024, has spent nearly 4 decades in the amusement park industry. His tenure includes key leadership roles dating back to his start at Paramount Parks in 1987. The Six Flags board launched a search for Zimmerman's successor with the help of a global executive search firm. Both internal and external candidates will be considered. Don, I haven't told you this yet. This is the first time you're hearing it. We got a couple of texts to the phone number nominating you as the next CEO. I don't know if you're up for it or not.
I'm not the CEO type, I'm not coat and ties, that kind of thing. I'm the Hawaiian shirts and all that kind of stuff. So, appreciate that you think I should take on that kind of a role, but that I don't think I would be a good fit for it. But Richard Zimmerman, I got to know Richard during my years working at Kings Island. At that time, he was like second in command behind number 3 at the beginning. He was like a regional general manager. Jack Balthus was number 2, and then Dick Kenselman moved to the number 2 spot when Matt Ouimet took over. But Richard was really, really good to me. He liked my work. He gave me opportunities. He's was someone that wanted me to go to other parks when they were introducing new attractions. He's one of the reasons I was sent to Carowinds in 2010. It was him and Phil Bender, for those of you that are familiar with his name. Then in 2012, they sent me out to California's Great America to announce, run the whole media event announcing Gold Striker. And then in 2013, again, there was a lot of, at Cedar Point, they were still, they'd made some moves in the PR department and that. It was Matt Ouimet's first big new capital project was what they were doing there with Gatekeeper. Mm-hmm. And Richard and Phil Bender, called Greg Scheid at Kings Island. They said, we want Don there. We want him to, pretty much do what he did at those other parks. And, then we had the Banshee announcement at Kings Island. And then in 2015, they needed another interim kind of PR manager at Carowinds when they were getting ready to introduce Intimidator. So I was there to kind of be the PR guy for that event. And then, Val Raven, came up with Cedar Point, and I was asked to go there again and help out with that. And then after that, it kind of, they did those transitions and, reshuffled people's jobs, and I moved more, fully into the digital side. And then when I did go to a couple of other things like Steel Vengeance, you're just, at that point, I was just a body, to man a tent. Here's the area where we're doing the live shots, just manage the tent here, and so it kind of went that way. But Richard was, again, very supportive, great guy. I always enjoyed my conversations with him. And, I was a little bit, shocked this morning when I got that news that, I didn't think he was going to be around long term. I didn't think he'd be there, 3 years from now or something, but this quick, that he'll be out by, at the latest by December. So it was that kind of news that I woke up to, and I knew what I had to do, and quickly put something together for Theme Parks by Don.
We wish him well on his future endeavors. Good man, good man.
Very good man.
We'll be right back with the listener questions. All right, first one up. We've got a voicemail that was sent to us. And if you've got your own voicemail, you can send us a text or voicemail at 513-399-7538, 513-399-7538. Let's see what we got here.
Hey, Brian and Don. Love your show. Real great. I really enjoy it. Hey, this is Jerry from Elkins, West Virginia. And I have a little thought, insight on the parks and the season pass scenario. I kind of feel like whether or not to buy them now or later, the parks reserve the rights to pull things later on. So even though they're offering us all these goodies, all these perks, they can always later on yank them right out from underneath us. So that's always that possibility. So it's never a win-win situation. Also, another thing I wanted to, a question I had for you was, if the park's always looking for a way to generate more revenue, is there a possibility of even having more closed dates and doing more private events, like how they do the coaster stock, or they do coaster mania, stuff like that? If they do more private events to where they can actually sell more tickets and not utilize the season pass, finding ways to pull in more money. That's always a key for the park, anyways, right? Is trying to generate cash flow. So that's just something I just thought about, wondering whether or not they would try to do more privatized events in order to generate revenue. Because I do agree with what you guys said on the fact is, once season passes are sold, I mean, we may not spend another dollar when we just go in and just ride rides and use our food passes, and then they're not making any money. So they got to figure out a way to generate more income. But all in all, they can always yank events, no matter what. They can say near the end of this year, they can try to say that they're going to go ahead and cancel Winterfest, or they can they can just change things up. I mean, that's just how they can do it. It's not. I guess it's never nothing personal. It's just all a business. It's just business. All right. Anyways, thanks again for taking my call, and once again, I enjoy your shows. Bye.
I appreciate the call. Some good questions that they had there, and he's right. They can, and I'll tell you, they will. Pull events that are out there right now. Events like coaster stock don't really make that much money for the park, if at all. A lot of that money goes to paying to have those morning and night ERT sessions. It covers the price of what it's going to cost to bring in staff to run the roller coasters, to have the parking gates open early, to have admissions there 2 or 3 hours early in the morning, to have security there early in the morning, to have people to process your fund, for the photos, the on-ride photos, all those kind of things. So just bringing in all those and the extra catering people. So a lot of it just goes into labor, so there's very little left over after that for the park. So you wouldn't make enough doing more of those kind of events. What I think you have to do is you have to do more of those food festivals, and you have to make it a little bit more immersive, have more menu items for guests to choose from, and do a few more of those. Have one in the spring, have one, midsummer, and have one kind of later in the year, or even toward the fall. It's been mentioned us have Oktoberfest, something like that. So you need to have, maybe 3 of those. That's going to, be limited time. It's going to drive urgency, but it's not part of your dining plan. So you're going to have to open your wallet to get these menu items that you can only get during those times. So those are the kind of things I think that they're going to have to do.
Yeah, I mean, we've talked a lot. First of all, you're absolutely right. At the moment that they feel like they need to yank Winterfest, yank Tricks and Treats, yank Hot, Grand Carnival, anything like that, they will. It does not matter what's on the website. Terms are
Mhm.
subject to change, except for your payment. That remains the same. But that, I mean, you're going down the right path the same way that I was thinking, Don, with like the food fest and stuff like that. My thought is this: even if Kings Island is primarily season pass holders, which it seems like they've done that to themselves, and that's kind of what it is. What kind of like pea brain do you have to be to not figure out, oh, I draw, between 13 and 30,000 people to this one location, every day for months and months out of the year? Like, how do you not leverage that? There's just no creativity. The food thing is a good idea, and I like that idea. You're also combating, the meal plan that I can eat for free or I can pay money
You
for this.
do, but you make those menu items that it's not part of the everyday experience, that you're going to want to try. And the other thing that would help is you bring back things like the tasting card.
The tasting card is a must.
Yeah, I was just at Holiday World, and I can't emphasize enough how much of a miss that has been for Kings Island the past couple of years with Grand Carnival.
Yeah.
So I had the tasting pass there. It allowed me to try, foods that I would not have been able to. I might have only been able to get one or two other things, but I was able to get more of the different things that they were doing. But it was also food that I didn't see at Holiday World any other time. So it drives that urgency. And now I want to go back to Holiday World while they have this event and do it again, because the food, was so good. And there was a couple things that were just, that's amazing. I wish they did this all year long, but they're not going to. It's only for a few weeks. So those are the kind of things you have to do to drive urgency. But I also think there's ways to, like the Pass Perks program, just when you think it's starting to work a little bit, they pull it off the shelf and kind of want to redo it again. So I think there needs to be more things like that, where there's more incentive to buy merchandise, when you're at the park. If you're very heavily populated in season pass, you got to find ways to get people to spend more than just past the dining plan if they have that. So you got to find different ways to be creative about it. You can do special events that are just, again, bringing up Holiday World, the Friday Night Lives that they're doing. That was something they rolled out last year. It was a home run for them. So if you're Kings Island, why aren't you looking at something like that on some of those, add some more dates to the calendar? And, you are open for haunting that in the fall, but maybe you do more, you had the Thursdays, but now maybe you do some kind of a Wednesday night thing, it's from 5 to 10. You have select rides open to that. But again, it's about, the food, you have special drinks, you bring in some live bands and stuff, and just make it a totally different experience. And you're going to get your pass holders to come, and you're going to get them to spend more money.
Yeah, well, one thing that kind of came to mind is you mentioned the tasting cards. I think that there's an inherent flaw in how that whole thing operates, because who on earth with a meal plan that can get La Rosas for free will spend $10 for a taste of a dish in the Germany section of Grand Carnival? I think that's why people weren't really doing it. I think that either it has to be, eliminate the term tasting card. It's either you actually get a meal for a certain price or whatever. And honestly, like, even if you've got to cannibalize a little bit and make it $12, but it's an actual meal, I would go that route too, where it's like, oh, we can get schnitzel for $12. Well, we've had La Rosas 5 times this year already. Let's try that. But instead you get, people are always worried about portion sizes, and I don't think that's
Right.
unique to the season pass holders. So when you label something as a tasting card, and it's, or not even a tasting card, just a taste at Kings Island, and it's $8 or $10 for it, you start thinking like, well, if that's $8 or $10 for something that I get to see what it tastes like, it's not something that's going to satisfy me.
Right.
So I think that, I think there's like an inherent flaw with that. But also, he mentioned special events. You mentioned like coaster stock isn't particularly profitable. It's more of a, money in, money out kind of thing. But I think that there are things you could do. The best thing you can do to drive per capita is to get people that are in the park to spend money that they wouldn't normally spend. And one way to do that is to take advantage of people. The other way to do that is to offer an enhanced experience for an enhanced price. That's why I don't have an issue with this whole upcharging for the Conjuring Maze thing.
No, I don't either. Yeah, I don't either. And also, we've mentioned on the show multiple times 2 different experiences, like the sunrise tour that they do at Cedar Point. You could roll that out at Kings Island, have different experiences that way. Whether it's climbing the Beast lift hill or you do behind the scenes tours of it. We had, remember the Pink Days that they did back in 2013, 14, 15 range? We sold behind the scenes tours of the Beast, and those did great. Then you think about it and you're like, well, they offered this from, say, Memorial Day to Labor Day every day, offered that tour. All of a sudden, you're looking at a pretty decent chunk of revenue there that would come in because people will pay for that experience. There's a lot of people that aren't a member of one of the coaster cards that, clubs, they don't have that card. So they never get to do that, but they'd love to do that. So you have, 300 plus something thousand pass holders. Quite a few of them would love to do a behind the scenes tour of the Beast or behind the scenes opportunity with Orion, or maybe go into Flight of Fear, something like that. So there's a lot of opportunities there. Morning the train, have a morning thing with the train where you get to see what they do, to put that together and talk to one of the, the engineers in that. So there are so many different ways that you can generate revenue. You just have to be creative about it, and you have to be committed, and you have to want to do it.
Right. All right. Ben from Springboro, Ohio said, I know they haven't said anything, but with all the cost savings, what are you guys thinking as far as the quality of the dining options in the near future? I'm talking going from gourmet to cheap freezer food. I hope they don't trend for the worse, but who knows, right? Thanks, guys.
That's the one thing I feel comfortable with moving forward. I do think that there is a commitment to making sure that the dining experience, keeps getting better. They keep hiring executive chefs at parks that never had them before. I think they know that's one way to increase revenue, is to have good food, because not everybody has a dining plan. So they're not going to leave the park to go to McDonald's if you have really good food there. So I think that's one of the things that I'm not worried about that declining as much as I am, some other things, whether it's hours getting cut or 2 train operation when it's 3, little things like that are more likely than the dining plan taking a hit. I think Six Flags Over Georgia, if you visited that park the last few years and you're visiting this year, it's not the same dining experience. It's much, much better. It's really been elevated this year. Same thing at Six Flags Over Texas. So the commitment is there for food. I don't think we're going to see that go away.
I agree, because that's one thing where as they cut it, they start to hurt. That's something that they'll definitely feel. They'll feel the other stuff too, but it's not as apparent and in front of them.
Right.
Bill from Waverly, Ohio, he said, I think the Prestige Pass looks very interesting now. Just don't know if that one-time fast lane per visit can be used at all parks. I think it can be.
It can be. It has been the last few years too that it can be used. I have a friend that they live in Detroit, and they use it wherever they go, in terms of a Six Flags property. So they love it. They think there's great value in it. So I think if you're somebody that likes riding rides and you're going to parks that some of the more popular rides may have a 45-minute plus, wait time, it's a tremendous deal.
Yeah. Okay. He's got plenty more thoughts. So he said, 4 bring a friends, 2 must be used before the end of the year. Well, okay, Bill, to be fair though, when I had Prestige in 2023, it was just 2 bring a friends. This is an additional benefit where you get 2 this year for renewing and then 2 next year. So I don't know where your head is with that, but that actually is a really good deal, even though you can't carry over the tickets.
Right.
Still, if used during the week, which bring a friend is $25 now, that's $100. So he's saying, using bring a friend, it's equivalent of $100 plus $35 in parking. 1 fast lane is $10, so that's $145 total. Now, $10 is the low end of fast lane, like single use fast lane. He says your pass actually is only $54, and it's an all parks pass. By the way, I paid $140 for a gold pass April 28th. Got 1 bring a friend pass and $85 for the all park add-on. So a total of $225. That would make this year's Prestige pass still $26 less if you go with Prestige. Yeah, it's almost like they don't have pricing integrity. The gold is really cheap. It pays for itself in 1 visit. You guys are always saying there is a trade-off, though. Your thoughts on what these might be? I've heard you say shorter hours and other things, maybe. Okay, so I don't think that we need to necessarily pick apart his dollar amounts here. I actually think that he greatly undervalued what you get, because he's assuming $10 for a single-use fast lane, which I paid $32.50 for Top Thrill 2, so that's out the door. But 10, let's go with that number. I think the value's there, but let's touch on the trade-offs again, because first of all, you know, we can blanket it with possibility of shorter hours, running 2 instead of 3 train, etc. We've talked all about that, but there are certain things that come with lowering these prices so far. First of all, and let's stick with Prestige. How many parking spots do you think they have in that preferred lot? You think it's enough for all the people that are going to be buying Prestige, plus all the people that have Prestige for this year, plus all the people that buy the preferred parking? You think that's going to work? Hell, Don, you were offered to upgrade to it the rest of the year for like $25.
I was for $25, and then I said no, but then it's like, came into the parking lot. You looked over to the left. I was getting dropped off by the front gate, and it was packed. It was full. So even if I got that, where was I going to park? So it's very limited capacity in there, and I think with the number of people that are taking advantage and getting Prestige right now, there's going to be a lot of unhappy people next year, because it's only going to take until about 11 o'clock in the morning, and those spaces are all going to be accounted for.
And again, it's going to be, well, what do you expect? Your pass was only $200. That's what's going to be thrown back in your face. I'm calling it now. The other, the bring a friend stuff, let's loop that in with the fact that the prices are cheap. That means there's going to be more people there. And I don't necessarily want to go down the rabbit hole of, the cheap, that brings in the riffraff and stuff. But I think the inherent problem is that when a pass is so incredibly cheap, people don't see the value that they spent on it. So that's when it's kind of like, you know what, I'll just drop off my kids. If they get stopped by security, that's fine.
That's where the disrespect comes in because of the pricing.
Right. Why would you respect a place that charges you $200 for its top tier pass that was $400? And then the final one is the free, single use fast lane. Well, that's great. What happens when everybody has fast lane? Does the line get longer than the normal line? Because I bet you we're going to see situations like that. That's entirely possible as well.
Yeah.
So there's always trade-offs. I'm sorry, Don, I completely hijacked the answer. I read the question and fully answered. Do you have any thoughts with this? Because I don't want to cut you off.
No, I think you covered it all. I mean, about there's a trade-off, and and it also comes down to, because they're generating, they might have more revenue in a way, but not necessarily. I mean, it's just not a good look to begin with. But there's going to be things like you can walk around the park, and good luck finding a drink stand open during the week. On the weekends, they want to dress it up and make sure that those people have a good time. But Monday through Thursday, a lot of times it's not, because restaurants are closed. Some rides are closed. Go on the water park, a few slides aren't open. They touted, you can now get blue ice cream out at Soak City. Well, about 4 days of the week you couldn't, because the place was closed. So things like that. That's the trade-off, is that they're still going to find ways to cut expenses where they can, and they're going to have more people in the park that are going to get frustrated by that.
Yeah, totally. If you've got your own questions, comments, concerns, send them to us. The best way to do it is send it to hosts@towertopics.com. Send your first name, the city you're from, as well as your question, your comment. You want to be part of the show. That's a good way to do it. That's hosts@towertopics.com. The other alternative is you can either text us or leave us a voicemail at our phone number, 513-399-7538. If you send us a text, we'll read it just like we did this one. If you leave us a voicemail, we'll play it on the show like we did at the top of this segment. 513-399-7538. This is not an actively monitored number. It is not a good way to get a hold of us, but it's a great way to submit your listener questions. Don, tell us about some t-shirts. Whoa.
Well, the Facebook group first. Join the Facebook group. It's just search Tower Topics and you'll find it. We want to build a community of Kings Island fans in there, have some great discussion, eventually have some live chats in that, in the Facebook group when we get enough members. So, if you're on Facebook, you're a fan of Kings Island, you listen to our show, by all means, go to the Facebook group and and join us.
Now, can you tell them about the t-shirts, Don?
I can tell them about the t-shirts. They are in a wicked green color. They're $22, whatever size you need. If you're interested in one, drop us an email, put in the subject line, Tower Topics t-shirts. Give us your full name, your mailing address. We'll send you back a QR code. Once the transaction goes through, we'll get that shirt out to you as quickly as we can. Not as fast as Amazon, but we'll still get it out there pretty fast.
Pretty fast. All right. I'm Ryan Sir, along with Don Helbig, and this is Tower Topics.